Yes, and now it is time for our last speaker, which is Lisa Rosengren from Fristads. Lisa is the head of research and development for the raw material development and Fristads and Kansas workwear brands. And she is responsible for the chemical compliance at Fristads and Kansas, and also their own in-house textile laboratory. Recently, Fristads has published the world's first environmental product declaration on garment level. So welcome, Lisa.
Can you hear me? Yes? Okay, good. Are you tired? Are you eager to listen to me as well? Okay. Yes, I have been invited here today to talk to you due to the fact that we are the first clothing producer in the world that can introduce a new standard for measuring the total impact of a garment, from choice of a material to the finished garment. Yes, and we at Fristads, we want to contribute to a positive change and a greater transparency when it comes to environmental impact. And now I would like to tell you a little bit more about our journey we have started and that we are now on, explaining what we have done and how we have done it. First, I will tell you a little bit about Fristads for those who don't know us. We are a part of the Fristads Kansas group, the largest workwear group in Europe, and we operate in more than 20 countries. We own two own production facilities in Latvia and Ukraine, and we have an annual sales of about 450 million euros. And we have 1,600 employees, 108 are based in our newly built office in Borås in Sweden, and we are privately owned by Christian Dyvik and Mikael Hauge Sørensen. Okay, so if we start from the beginning then, it was actually, this project started over two years ago when we got a mission. The product development team from our management team to develop a sustainable collection. I've been working in textile for many years and also developed different options on sustainable fabrics. And I've been looking for the right way to do a sustainable collection and do the right thing. So when we got this mission from our management team to set a new collection for Fristads, we really wanted to do it for real and to do something special. We asked ourselves, what is true sustainability? And also, how do we really know that this product that we have produced now is sustainable? Even if you just switch a fiber, which is the common way to do a sustainable collection, we really wanted to do it for real and know what we were doing. So actually, I contacted Sandra Roos, who is here today, and we have known each other for over 11-12 years from the chemical group, and I know about your work on the LCAs. So I actually called you and I asked you, what can you do if you want to know something for real and you want to do something from scratch? How can you do that? And you answered me that, well, there is actually one way to do it, and that is to do an EPD. But there was a but. There were no rules to be able to do it. So we had to start by setting the rules of the EPD. The rules are called product category rules. So they are actually documents that provide the requirements and guidelines behind the EPD. We had to found an international committee to set this rule, and you were the chairman, Sandra. It was based in accordance with ISO 14025. We also had to define which scope we should have. Where should we begin and where should we end? And since there were some issues with the user phase, because there were not any standardized way of measuring that, we had to go from cradle to gate. I mean, in the first place, we wanted to do it all the way through, but it was actually not possible at that time. So, what also was very important, that the longer a garment is lasts, and used, is better for the environment. So it's crucial for our product, which should withstand tough working environments, that it's very high quality on the fabrics. And that's why we wanted to also bring in the test results of the fabric into the EPD. And that was also placed as a need, a must, to publish the test results on the fabric. So what is an EPD then? Well, it's actually a standardized methodology for reporting environmental performance of a product. And the relevant standard is the ISO 14025. And this is in type 3 environmental declarations. And it's also created and registered in the framework of the international EPD system. And there is a database that you can look at. All of us can go into the website and look at all the EPDs that has been done and all the information that is then in an EPD. We have made 7 EPDs right now. First we started with 4, and then we have 3 more new published on this website, and there are more to come. So, if we then look at the implementation, how did we then do this in our production steps? Well, as I said, everything that is done with the fiber until it is a garment on our stock is then analyzed in a very strict way. We actually went out to visit factories, but not the garment maker. We went to the fiber producer to analyze each step, what effect on the environment all these different steps has. So we collected data. We analyzed the fiber and wet treatment, which chemicals were used, water uses per kilo of raw material, and what energy source. Machine time then in the production of the garment. Transportation on all different steps, fiber to spinning mill and so on. And then it was also very important to do a comparative product. A comparator, then we took a product in our own catalog, which we didn't, we hadn't thought about making a very sustainable product in that case. We took that product and analyzed that, because that is also a learning, that you know how that product, the environmental impact is on that product, and also compare to this new sustainable product, because then you can also very clearly see how big impact these choices that we did in the development of the new sustainable collection was. So, if we then look at the fabric and trims, what we have used, this part, and as Sandra also stated before, this has a huge impact on the environment. What type of fiber, but also which treatments it needs to go through. So, in the first collection, we choose recycled dupe-dyed polyester together with an undyed cotton. So we didn't dye the cotton at all, and that you can see here where the fabric looks melange effect, and that's because the polyester is dyed 65% recycled dupe-dyed black polyester actually in this case, together with these undyed cotton. And by using that technology with this dupe dyed, we didn't use almost any water at all in the finishing process. We could skip that process, and that had a big effect on the results, and you can see that later on. We also used recycled polyester zippers, and we also made a new invention, you can say, a screw-on-off button. So the button is, first it's also in raw metal, so no dyeing attached or chemicals used, but you can also screw it off to be used again, because this metal, it won't break. I mean, it's really, it can work for a long time. So maybe the garment needs to be disposed, but then the button can be used again and again. So if we then look at the design and the construction, we were not just satisfied with looking at the fabrics and trims. We looked at the design and construction part, and it's very important also to look at that. What do you really need in a garment? So we actually choose to skip the top stitches here to minimize the machine time. We also made a special folding technique when developing the garment. So that also minimizes the length of the stitches. Yes, and then for sure, of course, the thread usage is also lower than if you don't do some long stitches. And then we also took the leftover of the production from the patterns. We chopped up this fabric and made these comfort pads that we send together with the garment, and because in workwear it's important to protect yourself, and this is then a good way to use the leftover for the customer to be able to use that one. So then, regarding the packing, we decided, we looked at different packing methods and packing, what should we use? We can't use a plastic bag. We didn't want to do that. And then our designer actually came up with the idea, what about this military folding? I mean, why can't we do that in the production? We just skip the plastic bag completely. I mean, do we really need the plastic bag with the garments? No, we don't. So we make a folding in our when the garment is ready, they fold the garments and they put it in one big plastic bag, because that is needed to be able to ship from Asia, not to be dry enough. So we actually fold all our garments like this, and it's folded into, and we need to have some kind of marking to be able to have the code and so on. That's needed, I think, for all of us. But then we just fold it, so it's actually folded. This is a working trouser, a carpenter trouser, this package. And also, it is a little bit tricky too. So it's folded into one of the legs, and then they are delivered like this. And here is one of these. They are a little bit more wrinkly maybe, but I think the customer can handle that in terms of not having a plastic bag that you need to throw away, right? So, I think this is just one of the things that you can actually question in every step of the development process. What do you really need for a product to be delivered? So, but one other thing that we didn't think about when we thought about this first, what we realized then in production, was that we actually could get more garments into each carton, which makes a lot of better efficiency. So we actually could add a lot of more garments for all the garments, because we have these carpenter trousers, then we have a jacket, then we have a t-shirt, And then we have our fleece jacket there as well. So all of them, we got more garments into each, and each big than carton. So that was also a very good thing that we actually didn't realize from the beginning, from the start. And of course, all transports is done by sea and road and not air freight. So if you then go into the EPD and look directly into the EPD, I've taken here an example of the T-shirt, which is a 100% recycled dupe-dyed T-shirt, compared to another T-shirt, which is 65-35, 65 normal virgin polyester and 35 cotton. So there you can see in the total of the water scarcity, you can see 0.91 cubic meters of water in the sustainable product, the T-shirt, and then 17.15 in the other T-shirt from our catalog. And then global warming potential, CO2 equivalents, there you can see 4.43 compared to 603. So it has a huge impact. What kind of, as Sandra also said, what you choose, which dyeing method you choose, actually from the beginning. So, I mean, we are in workwear business, and I think this is perfect actually for workwear, because companies today, they ask these questions, and they have a sustainability manager that wants to report data, and they want to know the exact impact, and they are asking about water consumption and CO2 emissions, and that's what they can get now. Then they buy the workwear, and then they can get the exact data on if they buy 10,000 trousers. They can get that down and communicate that to their customers, but also to the owners or shareholders. We are moving into other categories later on, which we also will do EPDs on. We will not stop here. I think it's also perfect for tender business if you have tenders. It's comparison. I mean, I've been struggling for years with tenders, and there is a sustainability demand. But how do you know that that product is better than that one? Here you have a clear, standardized way of measuring it, and also communicating and showing in different tenders, this product is actually better than that one. And then the companies can decide and choose which garment is the best for our workwear. So if we then look at the challenges we had during this trip that we've been on for 2 years, it's actually, first it was setting the standard. We didn't really know what we were, how we should proceed at first, but then we set the standard, we set the rules behind the EPD, and then we can continue working on it. So that was a hurdle first. We had to educate our suppliers. What do you mean? I mean, there are so many questions around this when we ask them questions like which chemicals are you using, and all the different steps that we needed to know to do the EPD. Then we also had to do this comparison product. So we actually had to do it again with an existing product and asked our suppliers to open up and to communicate what they know. But we have worked very long time, and we have very long relationship with our suppliers. So actually, by talking and explaining to them, they were very positive actually to do this and very helpful. So I think it has a lot to do also about the connection and how long-term relationship you have with your suppliers. It is for sure time-consuming and know-how extensive. I mean, you need to know what you are talking about. But I think it's worth it. I mean, here we have black on white the impact on the environment. So what is then next? Well, we are on a journey, and we can gain from this throughout our whole catalog of workwear. Not only this green concept, but also the other ones are benefiting from these experiences, and we are moving on in other categories that are to come. So we are launching new things in spring, for example, and so on, planned. Yes. And then just a few weeks ago, we actually won the Red Dot Award in Singapore for this in sustainability, for this first collection on the EPD. We are very happy about that. And then also in London in June, we got the Sustainability Award in Professional Clothing Award. And then I would like to thank you for listening, and I would like to show you a film that we have made in order to be able to communicate with our customers, but also with suppliers, getting them to know what we have done and what we are looking for. We have made it's quite simple film, but really, it's easy access, so to say. So let me see if I can get that started.
Manufacturing and sales of textiles are global activities that have a major impact on our planet. Environmental impact arises through the manufacturing chain, from raw materials to finished product. This is the case for both the fashion industry and the production of workwear. Fristads wants to make a difference. That's why we are now the first clothing producer in the world to introduce a new standard for measuring the total environmental impact of a garment, from choice of material to delivery of the finished garment. Based on these measured values, an EPD, an Environmental Product Declaration, is created. EPDs are already being used in other product areas, but Fristads is the first to implement it for clothing. Our objective is to contribute a long-term, sustainable and transparent measuring tool for environmental impact, a standard that can be used throughout the textile industry. As part of this initiative, we are launching Fristads Green, a new concept where the entire manufacturing chain is characterized by environmental awareness and innovative solutions to minimize the footprint on the environment. First up is a collection for craftsmen. The materials are recycled polyester and undyed cotton. The polyester is dyed using the e-dye process, where the color is added to the raw material before it becomes yarn. This reduces water consumption by 75% compared with traditional dyeing. The garments are specially designed, featuring advanced folding that reduces sewing time and avoids unnecessary waste. They have a clean design involving minimal details and smart solutions, which saves energy in production and facilitates recycling of the material. We employ a zero-waste approach, which means that we reuse all waste material from production. All surplus material is utilized on site and turned into comfort pads, a bonus product for elbows and knees. In order to avoid the use of plastic bags, garments are folded using a special folding technique. This also means they take up less space, allowing us to make optimum use of transport capacity. All transport is by sea and road, which has significantly less environmental impact than air transport. Our craftsman garments will be followed by collections in the other Fristads product areas. We want to offer options for everyone who'd like to make environmentally optimized choices. By challenging ourselves, we aim to find innovative solutions and new materials that can be used throughout our production process. By developing an EPD, a standardized measuring tool that the whole industry can use, we want to play our part and contribute to positive change and greater transparency when it comes to environmental impact. Let's get to work.